day, my name is Kim Girolamo and this is my introductory video for my new YouTube channel, Ontario Teaching Today. Just to give you a little bit of background on who I am and why I'm starting this channel. This is my first video, so I'll be talking a little bit about that. I am a teacher with 5 years experience before and a 16-year gap, and now I've been back in the classroom for 2 years. I am a secondary occasional teacher with the Peel District School Board, and I'm seeking a permanent contract. And what I want to do with this website is explore some of the changes that have happened to teaching in the time that I've been away, and some of what I've discovered since coming back. So first of all, just to give you some background, I began teaching in 1999. With the Harris and Eves government in charge of education in Ontario. And I think those of us who are old enough to remember may have an idea of what a joyous time that was in the education system in Ontario. But some of the other things that were going on at that time are, first of all, that cell phones were banned in my classroom as opposed to used as tools the way they often are now. And the ban actually almost didn't matter in my class because it wasn't like students could sneak around and use their phones. You couldn't get a cell signal inside the school where I taught, and Wi-Fi hadn't been installed in the school yet. In fact, there was a big debate ongoing about whether or not that should ever happen. So if I wanted my students to use technology, I had to sign up in the computer lab and walk my class to the room full of computers. If I wanted to show a video in class, I had to wheel the AV cart with its DVD player, television, and VCR on it, and then convince the TV to talk to the right device, which it almost never wanted to do. And of course, I had to use a video that we actually had in the school's library, or that I had ordered and had shipped to the school, because I needed a physical video. Because this was before YouTube, TikTok, it was before actually Instagram, Pinterest, none of these existed yet. MySpace was still the dominant social media platform. It was just beginning to give way to Facebook, which did exist. So it was a really, really different landscape. Google Classroom didn't exist yet. So everything that I did was on paper. I had a Palm Pilot that regulated my days. So that was my sort of digital tool. I also had a board-issued, reconditioned laptop that if I actually used it on my lap, it heated up to such a point that I actually burned myself one time. So the technological landscape was very different back then, as was what we were doing in the classroom in a lot of ways. So that's the profession that I left, and then fast forward 16 years, I came back into the classroom in December of 2020. So that was quite the shock to the system, as I'm sure we all went through a shocking time with COVID. But as I imagine you can perceive, it was a little bit more so for someone returning to the profession with the previous experience that I had had. So what I'm going to do with this channel is just explore some of the things that I have discovered since returning to teaching, some of the ways that I'm processing how we're going to move forward in teaching, because I think that now that hopefully the pandemic is beginning to wind down a bit, we're going to need to find our way forward. And I think that for some teachers this may be easier than for others, in the sense that some of you have a sense of what going back to normal would look like. Because I missed that span of time, I don't know what normal was, at least not from a personal experience point of view, for the time immediately before the pandemic. So I'm going to have to construct my own new normal, and I'm thinking about what that should look like. And as I do so, I'm also hoping to land a permanent contract in potentially one of Toronto, York, or Peel. I have previously taught for the York Region District School Board. That's where my 5 years of experience were. I've returned to teaching now in the Peel District School Board, and I've had 2 long-term occasional assignments. One last year, starting in December of 2020, and then running through until June, and then 1 full year assignment this year. And so through this process, I've also been taking every bit of professional development that I can get my hands on, and a bunch of advanced qualification courses. And as I have done all of that, I've amassed a ton of resources that I haven't fully processed because for those of you who've done either PD or AQ courses, you may be familiar with the pace at which they operate. There is a tendency to kind of do a resource dump and then point you to these 5 pages here, or this section of the website there, and have you process just what you see there, and then never circle back to the rest of it. So what I've decided to do with my summer this year is I am going to circle back. I'm going to organize all of these resources that I've collected over the past 2 years of 4 AQ courses and multiple rounds of board-issued PD, and I'm going to imagine my way towards using them in the classroom once we're past hybrid. I'm not convinced entirely that we're going to be past hybrid yet. I'm really hoping so. And certainly that's what we've been promised for September in the Peel Board. But you never know. This pandemic has not been as predictable as we had all hoped it would be. So while I would love to believe that we are going to be approaching back to normal in September, I think we do have to wait and see, and we can't assume. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to imagine my way back towards what I would like to see when I no longer have to teach hybrid, when I can ditch Google Meet and Microsoft Teams and whatever other tool we might be using for that lovely digital meeting purpose, and when I can just deal with the students in the room again. So if you'd like to come along with me on this journey and explore some of what I've discovered as I've returned to this completely changed landscape, welcome and thank you for your time.